From SF Land, this is Dorking Out, a podcast for people who love to dork out about movies, TV, and everything pop culture.
Welcome to Dorking Out. My name is Sonia Mansfield, and everybody on Earth deals with fear. That's what little brains do. Joining me is my podcasting sister from another mister and the co-host of Dorking Out, Margo D. Hello, my friend.
Hey, my friend.
In this episode, we are dorking out about 1991's Defending Your Life, which is starring, written, and directed by Albert Brooks. It also has Meryl Streep and Rip Torn. R.I.P. Rip Torn. He died earlier this month. He was 88, and he's fucking funny as shit in this movie. So I'm so glad we decided to watch this one. If you guys haven't seen it, you should stop this and you should go see it and then come back because you'll enjoy this episode a lot more. And it's a really great movie. Albert Brooks plays a very Albert Brooksian character who gets hit by a bus and he winds up in limbo, basically like a purgatory where you defend your life. And if you pass their test, they pass their trial, you get to move on to the next level, and if you don't, you get sent back down to earth to try again. Did you see this movie in the theater?
I did not see it in the theater. I'm pretty sure I caught it on HBO or something, and it was one of those movies my parents really loved, and I was like, I don't know, because they had kind of cheesy taste sometimes.
Right.
And then, but I remember, like, the first time you get this movie, it's so original, the idea. Mm-hmm. I mean, the idea of, like, heaven has been talked about before, of course. But just like you said, limbo. Like, where does your soul go when you leave your body? And Albert Brooks just creates this world that's so different and interesting. And then we have Meryl Streep as his love interest. And then he's defending his life and I recognize this because I deal with a lot of anxiety issues. Mm-hmm. And so when he's like a very fearful person and he just kind of freaks out sometimes, like I get that completely. And I'm so worried I'm going to be judged for that when it's my turn. Like they're going to play tapes of me and like, why didn't you speak up more here? Why were you afraid? I'm like, because anything can happen.
That is, that's so, okay. I love that you like immediately jump into that because that's one of the things I love about this movie is, well, first of all, a lot of movies deal with heaven and stuff, but I love that his heaven is basically, I don't know, almost like a DMV situation where it's like, there are processes in place and things you must do and to move on or not move on. I think that's really funny. But also, like, I just love the idea of, like, facing your fears. And a lot of movies do this, too, about, like, you need to overcome your fears to, like, get the most out of your life. And I like the way this movie handles that. And because it's something we all deal with. Like, whether you have anxiety or not, and I have anxiety too, I get it really bad, but you know, we all deal with fear and it stops us from living our best lives.
And I like the fact that that's the thing that they kind of like, it's okay to like fall on your face sometimes, but you got to take a risk.
Yeah.
And you have to kind of put yourself out there, and that's living your life fully, and that's living your life to its best potential. It's not about how much success you have. It's just about how many risks you took and how much you lived your life fully. And it's funny because he stays in, he immediately gets on the tram and he goes to a hotel and he has a hotel room to himself. And it's really nice. But then he meets Meryl Streep. And I mean, this is her most beautiful. I think she's a vision.
Yeah. She's
so gorgeous.
She's so gorgeous. It's like she's glowing.
Yeah. And you could tell right away she's the perfect person who did everything right. So she stays at a really fancy, schmancy hotel.
Yeah, because she's Meryl fucking Streep, too.
Yeah. If I could give one criticism, it really bypasses the question. Like, first of all, like he mentions, when you die, you go back to Earth and you try again because you didn't do everything as best you could, or you move on to heaven. So that's what this limbo is. And she says to him, he says, oh, well, what was your deal? Because he was 40, but he was single, divorced, I think it was, and whatever. And she says, oh, I had 2 kids. They're like 5 and 7. I think they miss me. And that's it.
Yeah.
There's nothing else. I was like, wow. I think this is before Albert Brooks got married and had kids of his own. I don't think he would probably write that now.
It's so, that part was interesting. And I found myself also going immediately wondering what happens with kids. And then Rip Torn says the line, like, kids don't have to defend themselves. They just move on, which I like. Like, just immediately get that out of the way because we're all going to be thinking that. But then she mentions that, like, I was married and I had kids, but then she says, like, I think they miss me. I miss them. And then she kind of comments on that they make it so it's not so painful for you so that you could concentrate on defending your life, basically.
Okay. I guess I missed that. I mean, I was kind of stunned by it this time. I haven't seen this movie in a really long time, so I'm at a different phase of my life. Yeah. And I don't have kids. You have kids, but you have a son. But I just thought that was a little weird. But
no, just
Calvin, where are you? Yeah. We have some crackers.
I only have one kid that I know about.
I make that joke too. It's so silly.
It's always funny from chicks. Always.
I say, no, I can't have them. My cats are allergic. And some people laugh and some people roll their eyes at me like, oh,
I think that's a solid joke.
Thank you. I think so too. So he meets Meryl Streep, and what you do is that you get a lawyer and they pick a certain number of days of your life and you have to defend how you reacted, right? And the more days you have, the more problematic it is. Like, oh boy. Yeah. He has like 9 days they have to, and she only has like 4 or 5. Right. And hers are like the house burnt down and she took the kids out and then she went back into the house and then took out the cat, like rescued the cat, excuse me.
Yeah.
Like her life is perfect. But I wonder, is she divorced?
No, she says she was married, but then she kind of comments that like her talent was always to like make things work, and that so maybe like her marriage wasn't like super awesome. Or one of the things that's I love about their relationship, about Julia and Albert Brooks's character Daniel, is they do have like immediately like a very natural, easygoing chemistry. And I think they actually use the word effortless. Like you can see like instantly like that click, and they both reference it like they never had that on Earth, like just instantly. They don't have to work on it. And the way they talk to each other, it just made me laugh. Here's a lot of comedies now don't have jokes. You and I talked about this before.
Yep.
Like, where are the jokes? This movie has so many jokes. It is legit hilarious. And I love that, like, she'll say something funny and then you think like that's the end of the scene, and then he says something funny on top of it. Like, it's just really, really hilarious. It's so well written.
Do you remember my favorite scene is when they talked about how they died? And she says, oh, I'm embarrassed. He goes, no, tell me. She goes, well, I tripped over patio furniture and I fell into the pool. And he said, what did the East German judge give you? Which is one of my favorite jokes in a movie ever. I remember cracking up the first time. I couldn't even listen to the rest of the scene. I was laughing so hard. He's so funny.
I love one of the ones that there's a couple things that made me laugh out loud. First of all, everything Rip Torn says makes me laugh out loud in this movie. Everything. Like just all of it about like how much of his brain he uses and what you don't use, and referring to them as little brains makes me laugh really, just every time. But I love the scene where like he first goes to her hotel and it's beautiful. It's like way better than the hotel he's staying at. And she asks him, where are you staying? And he said, obviously at a place for people that weren't very generous and didn't adopt anybody. And he says, why don't you come over one day and we'll paint it? It just makes me laugh every time. Why don't you come over one day and we'll paint it?
And so he's represented by Rip Torn, and then we have Lee Grant.
Yes.
As the prosecutor. She's still with us.
Is she?
Yes, she is.
She's really great in this movie too.
She's really wonderful because she's being tough on him because that's her job. And were kind of thought like, well, maybe he has a chance because she lost one
Yeah.
a week before. But they go through all the. My favorite also. I love the scene where they're talking about he's going to ask for the raise or the money he's going to ask for, and it's like 65, 65. And they go, okay, we're going to give you 40. And I goes, okay, and just walks out. I'm just like, I'm a terrible negotiator. So I was just like,
We've all been there, my friend. We have all been there. But what I like about the Lee Grant character is she is being tough on him, but at the same time, she is trying to help him.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, dude, you're still too afraid. Like, you're not ready. You're too afraid. You need to go back. Like, she's not wrong.
She's not wrong. And I like, there's a whole theme in the movie that the food is delicious and it does make you want to eat when you watch this movie.
That's why I made pasta last night because.
Yeah.
Because they go to an Italian restaurant and they bring Meryl Streep's character 3 pounds of pasta.
This is the thing about where they are. You can eat as much as you want. You won't gain weight. So everybody just pigs out everywhere. You know, he gives them the 10 pies to take home.
Why would you leave? Or he gives them 9 pies, one for every day that you have to, that he has to defend. I love the running joke about how many days.
Yeah.
You know, and then like people are like 9. Ugh. And then he like meets the guy who's like, his is 14. And the guy is just gross. And like a total, like, I gotta go take a piss. You know, it's like so gross.
Well, okay, so one of the best scenes in the movie is when they go on a date and they go to the past lives exhibit. And if you go into a little booth and you put your hand on there. And kids today may not get this joke at all, but it's Shirley MacLaine, which is that's so clever and so great. And who else could be that? Could that be?
Yeah, it has to be Shirley MacLaine. No one else would be funny. It has to be Shirley MacLaine.
And if you don't know about her, in the 80s, she wrote a series of really woo-woo books all about past lives and how to heal your past life and stuff like that. So she's the perfect person. And then, so of course, Meryl Streep were people who were really brave and valiant. And I like, she's like, who are you? I'm a prince. Who are you? He goes, dinner.
He's being chased by a lion. I just love
all so great.
There's just so much in this movie I love. And I do, you mentioned the food. I do love that she is always eating because I think that's what smart women there would do. They'd be like, yes!
Finally.
Would you eat 3 pounds of pasta? I would.
I would, if I could, yeah.
Yeah.
And I would get like a creamy one.
Mm-hmm. Like a
like
fettuccine.
A cheesy sauce.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like a fettuccine Alfredo and a big, huge glass of red wine and a huge chunk of bread.
And butter.
Yeah. Oh my God, that's heaven. I'm so hungry now.
Tiramisu or something after. Like, that sounds delicious.
I would never leave limbo. How do you get a job in limbo?
Can I work in limbo?
Can I get a job at Judgment City?
Judgment City. I think that is just the best name, by the way.
Yeah. I love it. And I just love all the jokes about, like, there's stuff about the like, he's passing all these billboards and there's, like, bowling alleys and what was the other one? There's all these things that are open, all these different businesses that are open, and everywhere you go, the food is amazing. Everyone is super nice. You get your food instantly.
Right. That's the best part.
Like, and it's fresh. And when he goes to the sushi restaurant, like, all the chefs, like, 9 days. Like, they're just all... Oh, gosh. This is just going to be one of those love fests where it's, also in Judgment City, it's 74 degrees, perfectly clear all the time. Don't you wish that was happening to you right now, Margo?
Yeah. So we're recording this. It's like 100 degrees in New York and the air conditioner is going to kick in any second. I told Sonia I had to get an ice pack to put on my body because I'm so hot now. I wish it was 74.
Oh my God. That's awful. It's so awful. I can't imagine anyone else other than Meryl Streep in this role.
She is kind of the perfect person.
Right?
Albert Brooks said he met her at a party at Carrie Fisher's house and talked about, this was an idea that he had for the movie, and she said to him, well, is there a role for me? And he's like immediately like, I'll write you one. And he did.
Because she still it. Like, we all love Meryl Streep. She is
Yeah.
perfect. She is like the best actress of all time, and it's not a stretch for her to play someone who's like so kind and brave and smart and thoughtful and all those things. And she's just
And
so great.
and they just love each other right away.
Yeah.
They just connect. And it's like you don't see this. I think this is the kind of romantic comedy I like when you really feel that spark.
Yeah.
And it's based on real emotions, and it's based on like, oh wow, you get me, you know?
They're adults.
They're adults. And it is wonderful to watch. And there's a scene where they're getting to the end of their journey, and she says to him, why don't you stay with me tonight? And then he has this whole speech like, I want to, and it could be amazing, but then I'm tired of being judged. You know, you're like, oh, come on, go for it. He's
You're
like,
blowing
no,
it.
You're blowing it, dude. She's right there. You're not going to get any STDs or nothing. I mean, it's going to be great. But he chickens out, and he goes back to Judgment City. He goes back, and they said, what happened last night? And he said, I chickened out. I don't know what I was doing. And so they get in there. So he's sent back. He's given the official, okay, he has to try again. And they're on the trams, like they're going out, and she's on the one that's going to heaven, and he's on the one that's going back to earth. And he sees her, and he has this bolt of courage, and he just jumps out of his train and runs across the track. I'll remember the first time I saw this movie, I started crying. It was so beautiful to me. It really got to me. And then he gets on there, and he's like, let me on. And I love that Rip Torn says, so is that brave enough for you? And it's wonderful. They get on the train, and then they smooch, and it's just like really great.
It is. It's so great. And like I said, I like that they're adults and their relationship is based on that they truly care about each other, and they've gotten to know each other. Although he doesn't know her last name, which I think is hilarious. But they are so sweet together, and
you root for them.
You really do. And I'm going to ask you: do you think they're still together in the afterlife?
Oh, forever.
Duh.
Forever and ever and ever. And I think they take care of little grandkids up there or whatever. Like, I don't know. They're happily together in the afterlife.
I saw this movie in the theater, and I super loved it. And I saw it in the theater because I love broadcast news, because I'm a human.
Oh, yes.
Because I'm a human with a pulse, right? Like, of course I love broadcast news. And I love Albert Brooks in broadcast news. I think it's one of the best performances ever. It's like one of my favorite things. And ever since then, I've been a really big fan. And so I saw this movie, and I really didn't know what to expect. And I super loved it. And then, did you see Mother?
Yes, I do remember Mother.
With Debbie Reynolds?
Yep.
It is one of my all-time favorite comedies. We watched it here earlier this year. David had never seen it, and I was like, how are we together for almost 10 years and I've never shown you Mother? It's like one of my favorite comedies. And we watched it, and he could hardly hear the jokes, because the whole time I was like, oh, just laughing out loud. So there's something about Albert Brooks's comedy and his delivery that just fucking slays me. It makes me laugh really hard. And I keep meaning to go back and watch, I've watched Modern Romance.
Okay, that's the one I want to talk about with you. Have you seen that?
I did see it, and I didn't like it as much as I like the other ones.
Yeah. But I think the first third of that movie is hilarious.
Yes.
And then it kind of peters out.
Yes.
He breaks up with a girl, and he as soon as he breaks up with her, he regrets it. And I love this. It's the first third of the movie. This happens in the first scene or whatever.
Yeah. But
he's a Hollywood editor, and his friend, who's also an editor, they're in the movie screen, whatever, studio together, and they're chopping up a film. And his friend gives him a Quaalude and says, just take half of this later on, and you'll feel better, and you'll fall asleep. And so Albert Brooks goes home and starts drinking, and he takes a whole Quaalude. And then the next scene, he's just banging around his apartment because he's so fucked up from this Quaalude. And it's one of the it's just he just smashes his face against the wall, against the door.
Oh
He's
my
falling
God.
down.
It's so
It's
funny.
so fucking funny, you guys. And then he decides he's going to be a runner,
Oh,
and
that's
so
the
he
part I
goes to
love.
and his brother, Super Dave Osborne,
Yes.
he's the salesperson and talks him into buying a ton of crap. Like after that, it kind of goes
Yeah. I love the
kind of
scene
goes
where
meta.
he buys all the stuff, all the shit, all
All
this
shit.
gear, because he's like, this is going to be my thing. I'm into jogging. And then he puts it all on and he basically just jogs to a phone booth and calls this
Right
girl
away.
and tries to get her back.
He makes a hard right away into a phone booth. It's a visual gag, and he has that big Jufro kind of hair,
Yeah.
like the huge hair with the sweatband, and it's like 1980 all over it.
Yes.
And the thing is, the problem with that movie is like you don't care about that girlfriend
Right.
either way. Here you care about Julia.
Yes.
You want him to be with Julia. Like that's the person he loves her. She loves him. They care about each other. Like that's the big difference.
Yeah.
So he
And
wrote a really great romance.
Yeah. And he's way more likable in this movie.
Oh,
Like,
absolutely.
I would say like Albert Brooks in modern romance is not very accessible. He's
He's a dick.
that's a good way to put it.
He's a total dick.
He's a total dick. And he's probably like modeled after, I hate even talking about Woody Allen, but kind of that like neurotic, weirdo Woody Allen-esque type, that is kind of funny in a movie, but not in real life. But this one is way more watered down than I don't want to use. Well, I shouldn't use the word watered down. That makes it sound bad. But he's just more likable in this movie. You root for him.
Yeah, he's a little more mature, and you do root for him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like I said, broadcast news is, he's just absolutely like he just breaks my. I'm just brokenhearted for him in that movie when
how much he loves Jane.
Yeah, he loves, he gives that big, the whole, like, he gives her the big speech about how much, like, she means to him and how much, and then ends it with, and I'm in love with you. And then he says, I buried the lead. And I'm just like, ugh.
But it's not going to work.
No.
No, because Jane's a mess.
Yeah, and I do, but then he has a scene where he tries to host the news. And it's like he's like,
and the flop sweat
and the sweat, and like people are calling in, is he okay? And like it's just like I feel so bad for him. He's just, oh God, he's so good in that movie. Oh, I love it so much. And Mother is, I can't. We could do a whole separate episode about why I love Mother, but him and Debbie Reynolds are just so funny. And
that scene with the ice. I'm sorry to interrupt you. The scene with the ice cream. And it's got the crystals on top. My mother was like that with food. Whenever we visited my mother, we had to throw out expired food because she just didn't want to throw anything away. That was just her generation. But my story with my mom is she got so upset at my brother Joe because when he was there, he threw away a jar of tomato sauce. And the jar had that green thing that happens on top when it's going bad. And Mom goes, why did he throw it away? It's the stuff underneath it that's really delicious. Like, oh my God, you're insane. The cancer's made you super insane.
The part with the ice cream that you mentioned, he's like, Mom, it's frozen over. And she's like, you have to go under the protective ice.
Exactly. That was my mother with the mold. Just like the protective ice. Like, it's underneath there. It's fine.
Yeah. My sister and I quote the movie Mother all the time. Like anytime we like get paid or whatever, we're like, it's fancy jam time. Like we do it all the time.
It's like an Albert Brooks episode.
It really is turning into that. You mentioned that he met Meryl Streep at a party at Carrie Fisher's house, and then he cast Debbie Reynolds in his movie. And I heard that he also reached out to Carrie Fisher and got Carrie Fisher to give Paul Simon, let me rephrase this. He reached out to Carrie Fisher and got Paul Simon to let him use the song Miss Robinson in the movie Mother. And so Albert Brooks and Carrie Fisher are really good friends. And I'm like, how come they didn't date? They seem like they would have been a really good couple.
Maybe they did.
Maybe, and maybe they're secretive about it. If they
Yeah.
did, they were never public, but
I wish they wrote something together.
I know, God, that would have been awesome.
Yeah.
Did you ever see Postcards from the Edge? Now I'm just off on whole other tangents.
Absolutely. Margo and I, for Book versus Movie, that's one of our top episodes.
Yeah. We should
Yeah.
put it on the list. I super love that movie.
I'd love to.
It's so good. And Meryl Streep is so great in it. And,
Funny. And Shirley MacLaine.
yeah. And that's what's funny about this movie, about defending your life. Meryl Streep still wasn't like a comedy person at this point. It was kind of a big deal that she was in this movie. Like I think she had done She-Devil.
She-Devil's the only one I can really think of, because that's like this very silly comedy.
Right. But
that
then
she did.
Because then after that, it was, Death Becomes Her. And
oh, God, I love that movie.
I love that one, too. We could definitely do that one sometime.
Oh, I'd love to, yeah. No, she did remember she did Mamma Mia a few years ago. People were like, what is Meryl Streep doing? I'm like, she's doing whatever the fuck she wants because she's Meryl Streep. And she likes to have fun.
Good for her.
My air conditioner kicked on. Can you hear it, or is it okay?
I can't hear it at all.
Okay, good, because I'm dying.
Oh, my God.
Okay.
So awful.
Sorry.
I can't imagine.
Trying to think, like, who else is in this movie? Like, let me look at
the Shirley MacLaine thing is just so fucking funny.
Rip Torn.
Rip Torn is great.
Yeah, it's not like a lot of famous people.
I love when he says, Albert Brooks says, I'm on trial for being afraid. And then Rip Torn says, well, first of all, I don't like to call it a trial. And second, yes. Like, and just the way he delivers like every line delivery from Rip Torn made me laugh so hard.
Did Larry Sanders come before or after this?
I think it was after this.
Yeah, because I think Rip Torn, he had a, let's just say, troubled period in his life.
Yeah.
And he didn't work very much. And Albert Brooks said, it was an interview I read in Rolling Stone, they did the 25th anniversary for this movie. And he said at the time, nobody could, he had to like really have a long talk with Rip Torn to hire him, so that, because they didn't want to hire, they didn't want to deal with him. And he said he was great. He was easy to work with and loved the part and had a lot of fun with it.
He, I guess he had an altercation on a set.
Ooh,
what was it, the late 70s, early 80s or something?
Oh.
He got into a fight with Norman Mailer.
Oh, God, can you imagine that fight?
Like a real fight. Like, I think Norman Mailer bit him. And, well, I think Rip Torn punched him first. Or something. They really got into it, apparently. And he just became this kind of person that people didn't want to work with.
He was married to, I think it was Geraldine Page.
Yeah.
They were married. He was like 10 years younger than her, and they were married for a really long time. But they kind of, I don't know if it's an open marriage or they just kind of had an arrangement. But she died young in the 80s, or 70s or 80s. But yeah, he had a reputation, I think, for drugs and alcohol and bad behavior. And so they, like I said, he had a hard time convincing the studio to hire him. But he says, but there was just nobody else he wanted. Mm-hmm. And he's perfect.
He is. And he's just one of those people. He's just super great in everything. He's great in Men in Black. Mm-hmm. He was great on the Larry Sanders Show.
Perfect on Larry Sanders.
I always remember him from The Beastmaster, but
I never seen that. I know.
Oh, no. The Beastmaster's terrible. It's a terrible movie. You should watch it.
It's I just saw the they're doing all these trailers right now because of Comic-Con.
Right. That's
going on in San Diego, and they had one for Top Gun.
I haven't watched it yet.
Yeah, and I saw it. Well, it's not that. I mean, it's okay. It's fine, but it looks like Mission Impossible. Like that's what they're doing with it. And I said to somebody, I'd be like, oh yeah, I never saw that. Like, you've never seen Top Gun? I'm like, nope.
Well, we're gonna watch it, but we're gonna wait till it gets closer.
Till the movie comes out.
Yeah, when Maverick comes out, we'll watch Top Gun, you guys. Don't worry, it's gonna happen.
Cool your jets, people.
It's going to happen, and Cocktail is going to happen.
With Erica.
Erica will come back, and we will definitely talk about Cocktail.
You guys will meet Erica in our next episode.
Actually, you'll meet her before this episode.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Okay. So you met her in our last episode is what I meant to say.
That's it. Exactly right. What else should we say about defending your life other than it's hilarious and everybody should watch it. It is streaming everywhere, you guys. You can get it. And I just, like I said, I love the message of it. Like, just do it. Just, hate to quote Nike, but just do it, you guys. Like, I think we all walk around and we just think like everyone's judging us all the time.
Right.
And we are a little bit, but we're mostly looking at ourselves and judging. We're all so self-involved, all of us. Just do what you want. We're not looking. Like, we're not paying attention.
What is it, that Satchel Paige quote? He's like, dance as if no one's watching.
Right.
Right. Love like you've never been hurt before.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, it's true.
Yeah. I mean, you guys, you're not going to be old and on your deathbed thinking, oh, I wish I had done less. Like,
I'm so glad I didn't take chances. Whew.
Yeah. Phew. I wish I'd spent more time at work.
Oh, God.
No. Nobody's going to be thinking that. So would you like to hear some things about movies of 1981? 91. Dear Lord.
Dear Lord, Sonia.
Do you want to hear about 81 or 91?
91. I'll take 91.
Okay, so we've actually done a few episodes already about 91. So we've done Point Break and we've done Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. So I thought I would share the movies from 91 that won Oscars.
Oh, please. That's a good choice.
Okay, so the Best Picture winner for 1991 was Silence of the Lambs.
Yes.
One of my all-time favorite movies.
Yep.
Director was Jonathan Demme for Silence of the Lambs. And you're going to hear this a lot. Anthony Hopkins for Silence of the Lambs. And Jodie Foster for Silence of the Lambs. Those were all well-deserved.
Absolutely.
But here's some other movies that were nominated. So Beauty and the Beast was nominated a lot. Prince of Tides was nominated a lot. Robin Williams for The Fisher King. Laura Dern was nominated for Rambling Rose. And I was just thinking...
Oh, she was great in that.
She was. And I was just thinking of Laura Dern this morning because I was watching Big Little Lies last night. And I think there should be a movie with Keanu Reeves and Laura Dern.
Oh, that's a good choice.
Like, they're both the fucking coolest. We all love Laura Dern and we all love Keanu Reeves. I think it could bring the country together, is what I'm saying.
It could unite us, not divide us.
I think so.
I'm into it.
Also nominated for stuff, Thelma and Louise. I love
I want to talk about that movie so bad. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's do it soon. I love that movie.
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah.
Let's see. We mentioned The Fisher King. Jack Palance for City Slickers.
I love City Slickers, I have to tell you. I've seen that movie like 100 times.
It's funny.
It's super funny. It's very enjoyable.
Yeah. And then there's a whole bunch of nominations here for Bugsy.
Oh, God, what a terrible movie.
I'm like, that's hilarious to me that it's not, because nobody talks about Bugsy.
Nobody gives a shit. Yeah.
Nobody gives a shit about Bugsy. What else? I'm just going through. Fried Green Tomatoes is nominated here for screenplay. You just did book versus movie on that one.
We did, and it did very well.
Yeah.
The book is really fun, but it's very, very different from the movie. The relationship, the central relationship. Believe it or not, they're lesbians.
What?
I know.
What? You totally ruined the movie for me.
I just thought they really, 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 really liked each other.
It's so ridiculous. Oh, people are just so silly.
Yeah.
Anyway, what other movies in here should I shout out? Boys in the Hood was nominated for screenplay.
Oh, R.I.P. John Singleton.
I know, that was a good one. A lot of JFK was nominated.
I like JFK a lot.
That's a good one. Barton Fink. That's a good one. Bette Midler for the Boys. Nobody talks about that.
God, that movie's so cheesy.
It's so cheesy. I love Bette Midler, but...
And James Caan is her husband.
That's right. Gonna... Beaches is definitely on our list.
Oh, that better be on the list because I need to talk about that someday.
Yeah, we've got thoughts and feelings about that one. And I think that's enough. That's good for 1991.
Yeah. So I looked up what were the top songs at that time. So the movie came out March of 1991. And so these were the top songs. We have Whitney Houston, All the Man I Need.
Oh, Whitney.
Whitney. Mariah Carey, Someday.
I love that song.
It's a good song. Okay, I didn't know this person. Timmy T, One More Try.
I don't know that person. I bet I know the song, though. I bet if I heard it, because I listened to everything back then.
This is a song. Here you go. CNC and the Music Factory, Gonna Make You Sweat.
That song was awesome.
And they played it all the time, everywhere you went.
Yes, and it was in every movie trailer.
Yeah.
Like, every movie trailer was just like, everybody dance now.
They still do it.
I think they did it in, I think, even for Silence of the Lambs. It's like, everybody dance now. Clarice.
And then we have the last one. I wrote this. It's Gloria Stefan, Coming Out of the Dark, and I was like, "What's that about?" I'm like, oh yeah, she was in a bus accident. Remember that?
Oh yeah.
She almost died. She was in a terrible bus accident. She had to learn how to walk again and everything.
That's awful.
But she was a big star.
Big star.
In 91.
Not anymore. Now
she still is.
No, I'm kidding. She's like washed up.
You know what? There was a Miami Sound Machine show on Broadway. It was like a jukebox musical.
Mm-hmm.
And it was impossible to get tickets for that thing. My friend, when it first came out, my friend and I tried to get those, cheap being like $75.
Right.
And no effing way. There was at least $100. Like, people loved that musical. They had a lot of good tunes.
Is it still playing?
I don't think so. I think
the only thing I know about it was, I love to watch the Thanksgiving Day Parade every year because I hate my husband and I make him sit through it and watch him like squirm and say shitty things about it. And they always like have a musical number from it. It's like one of the shows that they highlight in the parade.
That parade is hilarious because everyone is so obviously lip syncing.
Oh yeah, it's super terrible.
It's super terrible, and then it's so funny because they do it no matter what the weather is.
Mm-hmm. And
Thanksgiving in New York is a crapshoot. It could be lovely, it could be raining, it could be snowing, it could be freezing, it could be hot. Like, and these poor people are out there. I always feel bad for these performers. Just performing for a disinterested
I know
parade route.
Oh, and they always have these marching bands from high schools and stuff like that. And then whenever they screw up, my husband's always like, oh, you blew it. This was your one chance. And now everyone's going to talk about it for the rest of your life.
No college for you there, trombone player.
You fucking blew it. Speaking of Broadway, did you watch the trailer for Cats?
Yes, I did. I didn't know this movie was being made. I certainly didn't know Taylor Swift was going to be in it. I think it looks bizarre. I mean, I might see it. What do you think?
I don't know what to think about it, to be honest. I shared it on Facebook with like my friends that I've recruited to be into like a scary movie club with me, where I could recruit people from my group to see scary movies when they come out, so I don't have to go by myself. And I was like, should we go see Cats, you guys? I'm like, because it looks terrifying. Like, it really looks super weird.
It's very, very strange. And they were saying in one of the articles I read, like, the cats have breasts to show the women cats versus the men cats.
Yeah, I'm like,
I know, it's bizarre.
Yeah, I don't know. I might have to go see it just because what the fuck is happening in that movie? Here comes the siren to take you away for not knowing about cats.
There goes my ride. No, I was going to say, it's coming out the same day as Star Wars.
Oh.
Like, it's counter-programming to the limit. Like, somebody's like, let's just release it that day. If it fails, we could just blame Star Wars.
That sounds smart on their part, actually.
I think so, too. It's alternative programming, yeah.
Well, then I definitely won't be seeing it because the chances of me seeing two movies...
At Christmas time, forget it.
No, and I'll definitely make the right choice.
And you were there. Dana said he was going to have me on his podcast, Dana Buckler,
yes,
to talk about the new Star Wars. So
I am your witness.
We have a record of that. Yep, you're my witness.
What else are you dorking out about besides the trailer for Cats?
I'm dorking out about. So I like the Netflix series. I think it's Netflix now. Yeah, it's Netflix. It's a comedians in cars with coffee,
Mm-hmm.
and it's Jerry Seinfeld, and he goes around with this comedian. And this year, this season, he has Eddie Murphy,
Oh,
and who's surprisingly mellow
yeah.
and soft spoken. Like I was really into it. And then he has 2 episodes with Ricky Gervais I refuse to watch.
He's an
Like,
asshole.
he's such a fucking asshole. He's just like, I'm an atheist. Isn't that hilarious? Like, oh, shut up.
I used
It's
to
just-
think he was really funny, and then
Me too.
I don't know. He started trying too hard, and then he did that thing where he sat down with like Louis C.K. and Chris Rock and Jerry
Yep.
Seinfeld, and like Louis C.K.'s like dropping the N-bomb, and like he's just like, oh, like it's just such a weird thing. And after
And
that,
he
I've been
laughed like he was a little naughty boy.
yeah, I'm
Right.
like,
And
ugh.
Jerry Seinfeld, of all of them, was the only one who sat there kind of horrified, like, no, I don't use that word ever.
Yeah.
Why are you using it? What is wrong with you?
It's awful.
Yeah. But so one of his guests is a woman named Bridget Everett, and I don't know if you're familiar with her,
I'm not.
but she's a singer and a comedian, and she does these cabaret shows in New York. And she's a very tall woman, she's a very big woman, and blonde, very pretty, and body as hell. It's like she's super, super body and hilarious. And so she and Jerry Seinfeld go out for coffee, and one of his first questions he likes to ask people is, "Who was the first person you noticed that was funny, like when you were a kid?"
Mhm.
And the woman says, Bridget, says, "Oh, it was John Belushi. I loved him." And Seinfeld, she goes, "I was so sad when he died." And Seinfeld says, "Well, it was probably going to end that way anyway." And I'm like, okay, it's a little blunt, but yeah, you're probably right. And then she mentions, "I'm friends with a guy who was his best friend," and then they bleep the name. And then Jerry goes, "I hate that guy. I really hate that guy. He drives me crazy. He always puts me down. He's always saying shitty things about me." Like Jerry Seinfeld, who never loses his cool.
Never.
Who never. He always is kind of like a little smug and a little aloof and a little distant, and, funny, but distant. And they just keep bleeping out the guy's name. So when you and I were trying to get in touch earlier, I was like, I need 15 minutes because I got to go on Twitter and find out who it is they're bleeping out. And I still haven't found out who it is. So if any of you out there know, tweet at me and tell me who you think it is. I think it's Andy Kindler. I don't think it's Dan Aykroyd, but the person is John Belushi, says they were John Belushi's best friend, and Jerry hates him.
Oh,
Yeah.
it couldn't be Dan Aykroyd.
I don't think so. I think Dan Aykroyd's too affable. I don't think anybody hates him.
Right. And by the way,
It
I
could be
just looked
Gilbert
up
Gottfried.
I looked up Bridget Everett, and I'm like,
Everett?
I do know who that is. She
She was on the Amy Schumer show
Yeah.
a lot.
exactly. Yeah. Yeah. It couldn't be Gilbert Gottfried. Is that what you just said?
He said I was thinking Gilbert Gottfried because Jerry says he's never funny. He just does the voice thing. And that's what gets us.
Oh,
And I'm like, oh, because Gilbert's a lightning rod for people. Some people think he's funny,
right.
and some people think he's not. And
Right.
so that's what I was thinking.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Did you see Midsummer?
I tried to see it, Sonia. It was on my list, and it sold out just before I could get tickets. It was
man.
sold out all weekend at Alamo, and I was going to try to go yesterday, but it was just too hot. I
Yeah.
couldn't leave.
I'm
So-
not going to spoil anything here. I'm just
Did
gonna
you like it?
I think I did. I'm having a weird reaction to this movie. So Midsummer is the scary, like a horror movie that came out. It's by Ari Aster. He's the same writer director who did Hereditary, which was one of my favorite movies last year. I thought that movie was legit scary, and Toni Collette was like the fucking shit in it. It's a really good movie. And this movie, like, I didn't have that immediate reaction to it, but it has stuck with me for the past week, and I keep thinking about it a lot, and I like when movies do that, kind of like Us. Like Us, I had a very similar reaction to, where I was like, I really liked it, but I didn't like it like I liked Get Out. And then it just kind of stuck with me, and I find myself thinking about it a lot and then reading about it a lot. And I like that sort of thing. I think this Midsummer is really creepy. It's definitely got some gory shit in it. It's a definite slow build, but
Oh boy.
it wasn't. I guess I was expecting something different. So when it was done, I was like, that's not quite what I thought it was going to be, and I didn't know how to deal with that.
Did you see it with anybody else?
I did. I recruited a bunch of people to go, and everyone liked it. Actually, we all liked it. Nobody walked out and was like, well, that was a piece of shit. Or we all liked it. And it is, a friend of mine said that it's she's really into, what do they call it, like Nordic folk horror.
Oh, sure.
You know, so like, and it's set in Sweden, and it's about this like small village in Sweden, and it's a cult, and their rituals, and they bring in these Americans, and they don't really know what they're in for, and it just gets creepier and creepier and creepier. She loves that shit. This is like her jam, and she was like, this movie's perfect. She super loves it. I don't know if that genre is my jam, but I have been thinking about this movie a lot, and I like when that happens, so I'm into it.
Would you say that Let the Right One In would fall into that category?
I have never seen that.
Oh, Sonia,
would I
you've
love
never
it?
seen? You would love it.
Okay. The original or the remake or
the
both?
original. The
Okay.
remake is bullshit.
Okay.
No, you have to see the original.
Okay. All right.
It's terrifying as shit. And you and I have to talk after you've seen next to the last scene. Let's just say that. And you'll know what I'm talking about when that happens. And then we have to have a conversation.
Did you see The Witch that came out like a couple years ago?
No.
Okay. This one kind of reminded me of The Witch. And then for other people, they're telling me that it reminds them a lot of Wicker Man.
Oh, well, there's the really bad movie from the 70s, and there's the really bad remake with Nicolas Cage of Wicker Man.
I think people are talking about both when they talk about this
Yeah,
movie.
I think it's an amalgam of both, yeah.
But I have never seen Wicker Man, so...
It's cheesy.
Okay, good to know. I've also been watching Fleabag.
Oh, it's the best.
Which is so great. I have never seen it. My husband and I just started it. We're up to like episode 3 or 4 of the first season, and I just think it's so fucking funny, and she's so great in it, and it's nominated for like 1 million Emmys, and it totally deserves all of them. She's so funny.
She is so hilarious, and the first season is great. The second season's even better.
Yeah.
And she said she's not writing anymore. Like, she's moving on to other projects. I know.
So my husband told me that she has been tapped to write part of the new James Bond, or she's writing with someone for the new James Bond movie. And I was like, are you fucking shitting me? I'm like, I'm like, that's awesome.
Well, she wrote Killing Eve the first season. And
I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's one of her creations, was Killing Eve. She adapted it. It's from original material,
right.
But from someone else's material. But she adapted it, and that was all her idea.
Now that you mention it, I'm like, that makes sense to me.
Yep.
I haven't seen the second season of Killing Eve yet because it's not on any of my channels. But when it is, I will definitely be watching it because I thought the first season was just perfection.
The second season's great. It's a little hard to believe sometimes.
Yeah.
But that's okay. It's just a part of that's why you watch things. Yeah. I don't need to see reality. Yeah. I mean, I like my reality shows, but they're not based on any kind of reality. Let's be clear.
That's what Real Housewives of New York
That's what they're for. Yes.
Oh, gosh. So, Margo, where can people find you on the internet?
The best places to find me on social media are Twitter and Instagram, and that's at Brooklyn Fitchick. And my blog is brooklynfitchick.com.
And you can find me at The Sonia Show on Twitter and thesoniashow.com. And you can find Dorking Out at dorkingout.com and Dorking Out Show on Twitter and Facebook. And this was super fun as always. I'm so glad we got to talk about defending your life.
I love this movie so much. Thank you for picking it.
Of course. And, you know, when you use more than 5% of your brain, you don't want to be on Earth. Believe me.